All right, so happy Finance Friday from your hat dude wearing a new hat dude actually wearing guy Friday morning. We have our Capital Partners Mortgage President Craig Garcia with us, and this is our third in a week in a row. I don't know if you noticed that we have a recurring theme. So we're in the baby steps of what's going to be a worldwide phenomenon. Is our podcast actually about the mortgage industry? Nobody has done it, but we're going to do this. It's going to be something that you guys are on the infancy to see this and watch it grow.
Embryonic.
Yeah. It's going to be great news mostly about South Florida real estate. You know, maybe a little sports, maybe news action here and there, some stuff that's just kind of fun stuff. And this morning we actually have a guest. Not only is he's a special guest you might know, but he's coming to us live from a different continent, actually. So.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Perfect hat. Perfect timing.
I try.
Dude, I love that hat, man.
Thank you very much.
What do they call that hat? I own one, but I don't know exactly what it's called.
I don't know. I think ever since Peaky Blinders, I just call it the Peaky Blinders hat.
Did you get that in Scotland?
I did. I did get it in Scotland with you.
I picked one up when I went to London. I got one for Bill because I know he was the hat dude.
Yeah.
Are you wearing your kilt?
That's free. That's I'll tell you later, big guy.
You need to be on a need-to-know basis to know that information, I guess, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's great. It's great to be with you guys today.
Thank you.
So we haven't started. We haven't started officially. So
okay.
So
you haven't.
I think we have. We'll just run with it. I don't care.
So we can just go. And I can just cut out some stuff if we need to.
So let's just go. So Ryan, listen, thank you for joining us on our podcast this morning. This is our third episode. Craig and I figured it out. It took us like a few minutes to figure that out. Yeah. So initially, listen, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give some great information, mostly based on the South Florida real estate market, to our referral partners. And we might have a little fun here too, maybe with some sports, et cetera, et cetera. And we talked, Craig and I, last week about it, and your name popped up as obviously one of the first people we'd love to have on this podcast. And the knowledge that you bring, and you're always you're a fun guy, and hell, you're living in another continent right now, man. I mean, this is amazing. Got to hear about this, but we got to get the Reader's Digest version because we don't go too long on our podcast. But Ryan, Papy, just thank you for coming and joining us with us today. So, Craig, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you, Ryan. And usually what we do, we just take a second. We talk about the week snapshot for mortgage rates. Mortgage rates, actually, it's been a nice little week for mortgage rates. They've actually come down a little bit this week. And the nice thing, I'd say, Bill, it seems like there's been some market calmness, you know what I mean, with all the turmoil of the tariffs, and then, geopolitical, war, and seems like things are coming down. The stock market's, having a nice week, and so that's all good news. So probably a good week for that. Next week, non-farm payrolls is the biggest employment report of the month. Comes out next Friday. And then, sometimes that'll set the tone for the month in terms of what may be happening. You should see a big number, a lot more jobs that are created than were expected. Could pressure rates a little higher. If jobs are weak, could actually lead the door for lower rates for the coming month until the inflation report comes out. So anyway.
Yeah. But it's good news for a buyer because rates have been slowly trending downwards, softening up. Craig and I were talking. There's a lot more activity in the market, and there's more choices available if you're a buyer. And we think buyers have kind of come to the conclusion, hey, we know rates somewhat aren't going to get back down to the level they were 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, but this is where they are. And the cool thing about the buyer's agents now is the buyer is empowered. They don't have to be in a bidding war. They can make a kind of a lower offer. They can ask for concessions. And another cool thing about this too is that being a buyer's market too is that, and this is where you come in, is we're actually seeing some relief in insurance premiums. So tell us more about what's happened in the market with insurance, Ryan, especially like what's caused this and what's going on in the insurance market.
All right, well, that's great. So it's good to hear that you guys are starting to see some stability. And you're right. I think there's starting to be a shift from a buyer or seller's market to a buyer's market. Insurance, actually, you guys have known me now for over a decade. Craig, unfortunately, has probably known me even longer than that. And I have in most cases always had to be cautious to people about the cost of insurance, the issues that we're facing. And I actually now, for about the last 2 or 3 months, I've been able to go to people and say, look, we are seeing rates decreasing, right? So we're seeing a decrease across the board. But one thing that people sometimes get when you're looking at the market and you look at rate increases or decreases, you may lose track of what pricing is, right? So you could see something that says carrier A is reducing rates by 8%. But and let's say you're with carrier A, your rate just dropped 8%. But there may be a new carrier today that's writing that they're not measuring against that's actually 20 or 30% lower than what you are. So I think that we'll see pricing drop down by about 10%, in the next year or so, even including Miami-Dade County. Broward, Palm Beach, probably a little bit more relief. And what's drawing that, and it's not something that I guess economists would tell us to be surprised over, is competition. So there is more competition in the market today on the private carrier side of things that's leading to lower pricing. Now, why is that? What changed? Well, 2 years ago, Bill, there was no competition. So none of the carriers that were in business in Florida and had been invested in Florida for a long time were willing to take on new policies. And the reason was the way that the policy was written is that the insurance carrier could get sued and have to pay attorney's fees for the insured, and it was an increasingly high number. It was 90% of the total cost. It caused a economic crisis in the state of Florida, and they changed that. Now that they've changed that, we're starting to see more carriers that have been around for a very long time, that paused for 2 or 3 years, start writing again. So if you said to me, hey, are there any new carriers in the market? Sure, we could go over that list. But most of those new carriers that are genuinely new companies, they're not writing new business. They're more partnered with Citizens to help take out all the policies that have accumulated with Citizens over the years.
Right.
What's driving new business today is the carriers from yesteryear coming back and starting to write. So what we're seeing is a lot of increased eligibility. Many times, many deals we work on before, it'd be like, oh, look, we can't close because that roof, there's not a carrier in the country or the state will take that roof. Right. Where now you're seeing options. The private market wants that business long term. They may be willing to make a concession for a short period of time to pick up that business. And then now you come into this sales environment and the companies want to grow and start doing incentives. And we're feeling that not only at the client level in terms of relief in pricing and premium and better eligibility, but we're also feeling that at the corporate level with the carriers pushing us, hey, we want to get more business. How can we get more business with your company? All that, which was really suspended since a year or two before COVID. But it is a cycle. We enjoy this cycle. The cycle will change. Well, we will come to an end sometime, but it seems like we're at the beginning of it now.
Yeah, and it seems like, at least from our perspective, from a lending perspective, years ago after the 2000s, the lending world tightened up, so there was less availability of credit, et cetera, et cetera. It was harder for people to buy a home. And then in the insurance world, because of the previous, like you said, the liabilities upon the insurance company, all these threats of lawsuits and costs and so forth, these big carriers are like, hey, we don't want to write in Florida anymore. The state legislature stepped in, was that 2-3 years ago now?
I think it was December the 12th, 2023.
Okay. And now we're starting to see those fruits of their labor, so to speak. New companies come in that weren't in before. It allows us, like you said, hey, maybe they'll write policies for homes they wouldn't do before. And so there's more options, therefore more homes sell, and the premiums could be, and you're saying, we should see some relief, and I should see some relief in premium in my house in Broward County next year. Is that what you're telling me, basically?
Yes, absolutely. You should see more, unless there's some mitigating circumstances. You should see more carriers that are offering you coverage, better coverage limits, lower deductibles, and a better price, and more options. That if you said, oh, I don't like the way that this company looks, you can go to this other company. And,
that's awesome.
It's a huge change. And it's one that was being called for a long period of time.
Right.
Finally, it was one of those things that the pain had to be so severe in order for it to get done.
Right.
The lawyers that were associated with those insurance claims, almost 4% of Florida's GDP in 2022.
Oh no, trust me.
Significant.
I had to file an insurance claim recently, so I see the whole system in place here of the things that transpire within that industry. So it's a very hair-raising experience. So I get it.
Yeah. So now that that's kind of frozen, that's good. And then the secondary thing is there's two things that when you buy an insurance policy that affect the price. The one is everything that's non-hurricane related. So that would fall in the category of things we just spoke about: water claims, theft, things like
Yes.
that.
Right.
That is that can go up and down based upon claim activity, laws, and we're seeing that we're the benefactors of some good decisions made right now in that portion of the premium. The second
awesome.
portion is, yeah, the second portion is for the portion for the hurricane. So
Right.
the portion for the hurricane, that we're basically paying, the carrier's passing our money through to a reinsurance program that's reinsuring the entire state. That reinsurance money is much more, it's based on losses, like, if there's a huge loss around the world, a tsunami or something like that. But if you think the world is such a big place, there's usually one or two each year. Usually, from a numeric standpoint, it does pretty well. What influences that part of the market has a lot more to do with the liquidity in that. So for example, in a bear market where there's lots of places to park money, these big pension funds and these huge investment portfolios will invest in certain stocks, or they'll have many options to make money. When things slow down economically, investors run back to the reinsurance market, and there seems to be liquidity in that market now, which is making it a lot easier to purchase the money for risk anywhere in the world. Because people are just seeing that as a more sound investment. So it's important to keep that kind of in mind. When the economy's going gangbusters, kick butt, it could infect our reinsurance rates. And, but when the economy slows down, and it's not as direct as maybe I'm implying, but it certainly has a radiant effect.
That's
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I wouldn't have thought
That's great. Great stuff. Just awesome stuff. And in a sense, we're kind of like almost coming to like the perfect storm here. So I hate to use that analogy or metaphor, but we've got some lower insurance costs slowly coming down. We've got more inventory for a home buyer. Excellent. Really, really good stuff. Thank you for sharing and elaborating on that.
Well, one thing that I'll definitely mention too is it all could change with one storm. So we all know that where we live and the risk associated with that. But I do think as closings and things like that in hurricane season have always been an issue.
Yeah.
Because before there's a limited amount of carriers writing business.
Right.
And if there's anything about to hit the state of Florida, they're extra reserved and offering coverage. Now that there's more competitive carriers out there, more private carriers on the books, you should have more options as you're coming up to closing. But anybody listening, in hurricane season, you're buying a home, you want to close the insurance as quickly as you can. You can always change the effective date. Just so you don't have to worry about any of those issues.
Got it. Hey,
any
go ahead,
tips,
Craig.
Ryan, any tips for somebody who's, maybe they're out there, they're going to be buying a home this summer, or through the rest of the year in terms of, trying to make sure that they get some exposure to being able to take advantage of some of these better, having the competition work in their favor?
Definitely what I would say is as they start to go through the home buying process, they need to be looking at the age of the property. Age seems to be a very big determining factor in price. Eligibility, yes, but certainly price. And you need to be, if you get in a situation where you have a $600,000 property built in 1960, or you have a $700,000 property built in 2024, the cost to mortgage that, to finance that difference on a monthly basis versus the cost in increased insurance for the home that was built in 1960 on a month-to-month basis may not make sense. So we absolutely see the best pricing on homes that are within 5 years old, and so that's number one. The second thing is just being aware of your claims history. If you've had one or two insurance claims on your property in the last 5 years, you may have more trouble getting new insurance than you thought. So how you might want to structure that's another way. Hopefully there's not too many people that have had that many claims. But really work with an agent. Go ahead and get quotes on multiple properties. When you have the home inspection done, you want to ask them for the insurance inspections as well. If not, you'll end up paying them twice to come out for 2 separate days. And make sure you're dealing with an independent broker, which most of the market is independent brokers at this point, but you don't want to get pushed in any one direction for any specific carrier.
Absolutely. So with that said, Ryan, our referral partners, sell us on the fact, why should they be calling you and your agents as opposed to maybe some other agents or other insurance companies?
Okay, well, okay, so there's a lot going on there. So absolutely, I think everybody wants to have everything done in one place, and that is the client. Overall, at the end of the day, they'd much rather have a streamlined transaction. The agent, who would also much rather have the ability to control and streamline the process for their client. And when you do work together as a team, we are much more powerful than two separate units. So, in the traditional route, any client that's coming to you and your team, when you guys start opening that file, we are immediately notified. We start quoting that process, start the quoting process, identify any red flags. And tradition, a lot of sometimes too, we'll be working with the realtor even as it's getting to your desk to make sure that there's no issues with this particular property. But we can go ahead and come to the numbers and have real mortgage and real insurance numbers very early on in the process, so we know what we're looking at. From the flip side of that, many times the way that we get business is people will use maybe a lender, like a national lender, and they're estimating an insurance price that is 1/10 of what it actually should be, and now they can't close, and we're trying to pull it all together. So really avoiding that situation, you can make the home purchasing process enjoyable, and a lot of that is giving faith to people. And I think we all work so much we hold each other to a high enough standard and a referral side that most of the clients would probably be surprised to see. So yeah, it's always great working together as a team.
Absolutely. I mean, as a loan originator, and I work with other agents too, because I work with insurance agents and other deals, or for whether they're outside agents or Kai's agents that use somebody else. I always really sell the fact that Kai's Insurance does a spectacular job, always on top of things, communicates very, very well, helps us get the deal to the closing table, and also it does appear, I know there's different multiple carriers, but you guys have access to even more carriers I'm seeing now, because I see those quotes come in, and these be maybe 2 or 3 options. Now they might be like 5 or 6 options, right, that you guys have access to.
Absolutely, yes, and thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, so we've kind of always had those. They've just been sitting on the sidelines, not participating because they were scared to get sued. Right. Now that they're back, they're populating more. But yes, we do have all the carriers that are writing business in the state of Florida right now that are A-rated. So there could be a new company that comes out, they're not tested. We do have a vetting process, but those are very few and far between, if any. And we remarket every client when they come in through all the carriers, and we also do that at every renewal because we maintain the relationship with the client, hopefully very long term.
Yeah, cool. No, I mean, I'm a customer, and I think it's pretty cool every year. I panic a little bit because usually you'll send me all of the options, and you usually start off with the most expensive one, and that's the one that I see first, and I go, oh my gosh, it's going up again. And then I look down and, oh, okay, that's not so bad. So, yeah. But it's done unsolicited, so it's nice.
Somehow Craig's has gone down, and even in years that it's gone up. I think he's manipulating the system somehow. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know.
Very lucky.
All right. Well, listen, this is the part of this segment where it's called the Get Personal. Okay, so Craig's going to get personal with Ryan. Craig.
So Ryan, we just thought we would have a little fun with you and let people understand a little bit about you, maybe in a way that they that maybe they didn't know. We haven't discussed this ahead of time. It's not going to be too crazy or anything, but we thought about this. So what's a movie that you've seen an unusual number of times that people would be surprised to know, man, I can't believe Ryan's seen that movie that many times. Is there anything come to mind?
The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
And how many times do you think you've seen it?
Probably 20 or 30 times.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a particular favorite scene, or is there a line in that movie that you quote?
The scene would probably be where he's lighting the candles as he's gonna have a
the hair ripped off his chest.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin is the first one that came to my head because I feel like every single time I turn the TV, that thing is on. But I'm not gonna think if there's another movie. I do watch The Office almost on repeat. I know that's not a movie, but that's a show.
You must be a Steve Carell fan, I guess.
I probably see every I've probably seen every episode at least 5 or 6 times of The Office. I don't know why, but I think that show is the funniest show ever written.
I've probably watched 30 minutes of The Office my entire life.
You're missing
I think
out,
that's
man.
about 29 more minutes than I've watched, actually. I
And
don't know.
shockingly, it's both in your wheel. It's in both of your wheelhouses.
Yeah.
Please, just give it a shot. Just start on season 3, Diversity Day, and just go from there.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still watching like reruns of Cheers and Taxi. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
A little older than you, Ryan. So.
Yeah. And then I would say my favorite TV show ever is Entourage.
Oh, that was a great show. Yeah. That was hysterical.
That was the best.
Great show. All right, Craig, you got your piece about Ryan. So, Ryan, you got what? You live in Italy now? I'm jealous. I'm of Italian heritage. I've never even been there, and I got to get to Italy. So, where in Italy are you living? If you, I don't get too personal, but
I don't know. I live in Lake Como in an amazing village called Argenio, which is on the western shore of Lake Como. It has about 600 people. Within about a 15-minute drive, I'm in a town of about 700,000, and then about an hour away from Milan. But my family and I live here. It's an amazing place. It's picturesque. It definitely seems like heaven. Like over my left shoulder right now, I don't know what view you could compare it to, but it's definitely up there with the best. And
dude, you are living the dream.
I do feel that way. It feels great. Every day it gets better and better. We really utilize our time. It's really also made it, and I'm always traveling back. But even that part's become very enjoyable. You feel like you get more quality time with your friends and your family when you're there. But yeah, living La Dolce Vita it's true. It's probably much easier for people to do than they think. And it's much more rewarding than people could ever imagine. It's just been an
That's amazing.
amazing experience.
That's amazing. Listen, I could go on forever and ask you all these questions. I really like to maybe on another podcast get more in depth because I always hear the food's better. I mean, what prompted you to do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, honestly, the biggest, I wanted to make sure that my kids, I had a 10 years difference in children, age 17 and 7. I saw how fast I went with the first one, and the second one I said I want to slow it down as much as we can. So, go somewhere smaller. Then their safety, the way that they were thriving, the food is obviously a huge difference.
Right.
And then just the quality of life, the entertainment, it was great. And yeah, if you ever want to do a traveling to Italy podcast or the highlights, with all the planning I've done for friends, I have a pretty good understanding.
For sure. Yeah. Well, listen, hats off to you, my friend, for making that track. That's really very, very interesting. I'd love to learn more about it. And want to thank you for your time. I don't even know what time it is over there in Italy right now, but really thanks again for your time, Ryan.
5:30. It's time for an aperitivo right now. As soon as we go.
Hey.
Dude, I'm jealous.
Nice
man.
job.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Negroni and some pizza.
Oh man, I'm jealous, man. Well, Ryan, listen, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. Great information. I think Realtor referral partners are going to love it. It was great. And hey, well, next time you're in town, you got to swing by and see us here in Coral Springs.
You got it. I definitely will, man, and I'll definitely be listening to your podcast.
All right.
So thank you, guys.
Thanks, dude. Take
Bye,
care,
guys.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care. Thanks.
See you, Ryan.
All right. Greg, you gonna keep it going?
No, I think we should wrap it up.
That was cool, man.
That was great. Perfect.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Ryan's a good dude. He's got a great team, and and he's doing some things right, obviously. So.
Wow, very, very cool. I know we're like 25 minutes in, and I don't know how much we're going to edit this or whatever. But for our realtor partners, it's going to wrap up. Rates trending back slowly downwards, good stuff. Stability in the market, always good. We're seeing insurance costs coming down. I mean, from Ryan to say that, hey, as a homeowner of Broward County, I could see you and I can see 10% maybe relief or more next year.
That's amazing.
So it just plays into great time to buy if you've got buyers or listings, whatever. There's a lot of good stuff going on. So I think this is a great third episode. So,
yes. It's getting better and better.
Yes, and I wonder why he relates to the 40-year-old virgin. I don't know, but it's all funny.
Yeah,
but he's a Steve Carell guy.
He is. So yeah.
All right, sounds good, Craig. So are you going to be on hiatus next week? No.
if we figure this out, I will be doing this from a remote location. And
Okay.
So it won't be Italy. It'll be on this side of the,
Right,
of
right,
the Atlantic,
right.
but it'll be a little north of here, so hopefully a little cooler weather.
Oh, very cool.
We will see if we can pull it off.
All right. Sounds good, my friend. You have a great weekend. And, and to our partners, we'll see you
At the
at
closing.
the closing table. All right.
All right.
All right. Sounds good, Craig. That was pretty.